The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Mark Twain. Forward. Some of the adventures in this book happened to me and some happened to friends of mine. Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer are based on boys I knew. My book is meant to entertain boys and girls, but I hope it will also be read by men and women. I hope it reminds adults of how they once thought and talked, and of the strange things they did. The author. Chapter 1. The Glorious Whitewasher. Tom. No answer. Tom. Where is that boy? You, Tom. The old lady looked over the top of her glasses. If I lay hold of you, She did not finish her thread, but looked under the bed. There was no boy there. She went to the front door and shouted again. You, Tom! A noise came from behind her. Turning quickly, she grabbed a small boy by the shirt. There you are, you rascal! What have you been doing? Nothing. Nothing? Why, look at your sticky hands, and look at your mouth. How many times have I told you to leave that jam alone? Hand me that switch. The switch was raised in the air. My, look behind you, aunt. The old lady whirled around. The boy ran out the door in an instant. He had scrambled over the fence and disappeared. His Aunt Polly stared at the empty room. Then she broke into the gentle laugh. Will I never learn? She said to herself. Hasn't Tom Sawyer played tricks enough on me? But they say old fools is the biggest fools, and that boy never plays the same trick twice. I'm afraid I've spoiled him, but he's my own dead sister's boy. Poor thing, I just ain't got the heart to lash him. Aunt Polly sighed. Chances are he'll skip school this afternoon, she thought. Then I have to make him work on Saturday. He hates work more than he hates anything else. But I've got to do my duty. Aunt Polly was right. Tom did play hooky, and he had a very good day. He got home in time to sit down at the supper table with his younger brother, Sid. Sid was a quiet boy. He never went down on adventures and never made any troubles. While Tom was eating supper and stealing sugar when he could, Aunt Polly asked questions. It was clear she wanted to trap him into admitting he'd played hooky. My, it was warm today, wasn't it, Tom? Didn't you want to go swimming? No, ma'am, not very much. The old lady reached down and found Tom's shirt. She found it was dry. Tom knew what was coming next. Some of us pumped water on our heads. He said, See, my hair is still damp. Aunt Polly thought a moment. When I sewed that rib in your shirt this morning, Tom, I also stitched your collar shut. Open your jacket. Tom opened his jacket. Well, I'll be. I was sure you'd been swimming. But look at your collar, still showed tie. Aunt Polly felt proud. For once, she thought Tom had done the right thing. But then Sid spoke up. Well now, I thought you sewed his collar with white thread. But look, that thread is black. Why, I did sew it with white, Tom. But Tom was out the door. Sid, he shouted back. I'll lick you for that. It was true that Tom was not the model boy of the village. He knew the mother boy very well, and he hated him. Saturday morning came bright and fresh and full of life. The trees were in bloom, and there was a song in every heart. Tom appeared on the sidewalk with a bucket of whitewash and a brush. He looked at the fence mournfully, and gladness was gone. The time had come to take his punishment for skipping school. There were more than 30 yards of fence to whitewash. Sighing, Tom dipped his brush in the bucket. Then he sighed again and sat down on a wooden box. Pretty soon his friends would come along. They would make fun of him for having to work. Just the thought of it burned him like fire. He reached in his pocket and got out all his worldly goods. There were bits of toys, marbles, and trash, not half enough to buy his freedom. Then an idea came to him. A wonderful idea. He took up his brush and went happily to work. Before long, Ben Rogers came along. Ben was hopping and skipping, proof that his heart was light. He was eating an apple and making deep-toned ding-dong sounds like a steamboat. Tom went on whitewashing. He paid no attention to the steamboat sounds. "Hello, old chap," called Ben. "You got to work, hey?" Tom looked around. "Why, Ben, I didn't notice you." "Say, Tom, I'm going a-swimming today," bragged Ben. "Don't you wish you could?" "But of course you gotta work." "What do you call work?" asked Tom. "Why ain't that work?" Tom kept whitewashing. "Well, maybe it is, and maybe it ain't. All I know is a boy doesn't get a chance to whitewash a big fence like this every day. That put things in a new light." Ben watched Tom carefully sweeping his brush back and forth. Tom stepped back and looked at his work. He added a touch here, then he added a touch there. He looked proud and pleased. Ben watched. "Say, Tom," he said, "let me whitewash a little." Tom thought a minute. No, I can't do that. Aunt Polly says this work is too important. I reckon there ain't one boy in 1,000 that can paint it right. Be careful. Promise, Ben. Say, I'll give you my apple if you let me. Tom slowly gave up his brush. He looked unwilling, but inside his heart was dancing. While Ben worked and sweated in the sun, Tom sat munching the apple. There was no lack of painters who fell for Tom's trick. Boys came to tease, but stayed to whitewash. Tom traded chances to paint the fence for a kite, a dead rat, 12 marbles, and a piece of blue glass. He also got a key that wouldn't unlock anything, a couple of fine tadpoles, a brass knob, and a dog collar, but no dog. All morning, Tom had plenty of company, and the fence got 3 coats of whitewash. Tom had discovered something important about human nature. He learned that people will always want anything that is hard to get. Indeed, the writer of this book knows that work is something that a person has to do, while play is whatever a person does not have to do. For a while, Tom thought about what he had learned. Then he skipped into the house to report to Aunt Polly.